Hari Om Nana.
Hari Om Talli. Hey, nu bagane unnava?
I'm fine, Nana.
You seem to have some cold or cough or something.
Just a little bit of a cold. That's all. No, don't worry. I'm
because
fine.
You were looking slightly uncomfortable yesterday.
No, that's fine. I'm okay. You can start, Nana.
Okay. Om. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrusham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Shruti Smruti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. PDF.
You're able to see the PDF?
Yeah, correct.
So shall I start?
Okay. You sang nicely, so you would better continue the singing.
Okay, no problem. Just 1 second.
$7:45, you hand it over to me.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanudamartanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.
Hey, your audio is kind of shaky.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm actually next to the router. Is it?
Or you speak also.
Is it weak? You want to try one more time in case it's still like
It's okay.
Vasudeva Sutam.
You go through the Pramadartha.
Son of Vasudeva. Vasudeva.
Your audio is not the usual audio.
Okay, then.
Okay, you do one thing. Maybe till that gets settled, shall I take over?
No, just give me 2 seconds. I will log in from my mobile. That will be better. Just give me a few
Something is wrong with the audio. Are you too far away from the laptop? Is my voice okay?
Yes, Nanaji, very perfect.
Okay. And how was Brahmaraji's voice?
Okay,
Sheila
is it better now?
Yes, yes. Now
Yeah,
it
it is
is.
better now.
Better now, right? Okay, I will do it from my mobile.
Yeah, okay.
Vasudeva Sutam, son of Vasudeva, Kamsa Chanura Martanam, destroyer of Kamsa and Chanura, demonic kings, Devaki Paramanandam, the greatest joy of Devaki, Krishna's mother, Jagat Gurum, the teacher of the world, Devam Krishnam, the Lord Krishna, Vande, I salute. I salute Krishna, the Lord, the teacher of the world, son of Vasudeva, destroyer of Kamsa and Chanura, the greatest joy of Devaki. Krishna as the teacher of the world. In the fifth verse, Krishna is presented as the teacher of the world, Jagat Guru. A teacher can only be a teacher of the world if he or she has a universal message. Also, one can teach only those people who want the subject matter he or she is teaching. For instance, only those who are interested in calculus will go to a teacher of calculus. A universal message is relevant to everyone, everywhere, even though not everyone will be interested in it. Here, the message of the Gita can be given to anyone because it is relevant to everyone. Krishna is not considered to be a teacher merely because he is accepted as such, but because he has a message acceptable to all. This we must know. It is a message that is extremely valuable to everyone. Without it, one's life is a search that never comes to an end. This message which Krishna is giving here in the Gita is what makes him a Jagat Guru. Krishna is a person for purposes of meditation. As a teacher of the world, Krishna is looked upon as a person with certain qualities or attributes, but only for the purpose of meditation. When that which is being discussed is free from all attributes, it is a matter for knowledge. It is something to be understood. But when a particular form with a set of attributes is being talked about, such as Krishna as a person, it is purely for the purpose of meditation. In this verse, some historical facts are given about Krishna to create a figure for meditation. He is described as the son of Vasudeva, Vasudeva Sutta, and at the same time, he is the Lord, Deva, father of all, including Vasudeva. Obviously, he is not an ordinary son. If he were, we would not meditate upon him. Krishna as the destroyer of evil. Krishna is also referred to here as the destroyer of evil. We should know that there is no evil beyond our own minds and that there is no such thing as an evil mind. There is only wrong thinking that needs to be corrected. Krishna as the Lord is the chastiser of wrongdoers. By giving them what they deserve, he removes this evil of incorrect thinking. Nana, can you just elaborate on that? We should know that there is no evil beyond our own minds. That is fine. Everything is to pertaining with our mind itself. And that there is no such thing as an evil mind. Okay, the only thing is an error, that misconception and misapprehension. The wrong knowledge. That is the only thing. Fine. Krishna as the source of happiness. I think you're muted.
What is the clarification you wanted?
I was trying to understand the actual thing of we should know that there is no evil beyond our own minds.
True. True. You know, Swami Vivekananda said beautifully, in the world, if you find any deficiency, understand that your mind is capable of picking up deficient things. So it is a deficient mind which can pick up deficient things. If there is evil in the world which your mind has noticed, the mind is capable of understanding that evil. That means It is capable of being itself evil. This is what was the message of Swami Vivekananda. What is not within is not without. What is not within is not within the mind. You can't see that outside. That is the message. It is a wrong thinking that needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
It's a wrong thinking because I'll tell you what, Mahatmas, even looking at a Duratma, they don't consider that Duratma as Duratma at all. Because even in the Duratma, they see the Atma Tattva Eva. Poor fellow, you are not able to understand who you are. You have got this pursuit, and they empathize with them. So there is no evil thinking at all. If such is the disposition of a Mahatma or Mahatma's mind, what to say regarding the evil that most of us entertain in our mind? That is why we find, oh, that fellow is not okay, this fellow is okay, this fellow is tolerable. How are you branding all this? Because the quality of your mind has got a tendency to brand everything. That is an evil in itself.
So what is not within is not without, basically.
No.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
What is not within is not without.
So the more Atma Antakarna Shuddhi one has, what he sees and what he perceives is only purity outside. It is not, he doesn't see any evil outside.
True. Look at it this way. A mother and a child. Mother is playing with the child. The child is not even a toddler. Simple, some say months old or so. And the child is in a position to move about here and there, turn on his back and be active. When the mother is playing with him, the baby as though pokes his finger into the mother's eye. What is the reaction of the mother? Will the mother think ill of the child? The mother goes and kisses the same finger which poked her eye, and it is kind of painful. And she will pick up the baby and hug the baby to her bosom. There's no evil thinking on the part of the mother at all.
Nana, that is, I think we have to have compassion. That is what the compassion meaning is.
Yes.
Not
only
that,
sir. When you have a tendency to love everybody and everything,
yeah,
then that compassion is automatically generated.
Yeah, yes.
It is the love that matters first. If
It's
you
like
can love everything else as well as you love yourself, then the troubles are over. No problems at all. You are peaceful. Raga dvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaischcharan atmavashyehi vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Prasade sarvadukhanam hanihi asya upajayate. All the sorrows generated because of that wrong thinking, they will be taken care of. Sarvadukhanam hanihi upajayate. Prasanna chetaso hi ashuho buddhihi paryavatisthate. It is the mind. That is why it is said, Shastra Vakyas, Manasai Vedamaptavyam. This must be understood only through the mind. Atma Tattva should be understood only through the mind. That is why emphasis on cleansing the mind all the time. If there is any evil thought, if there is any thought of branding somebody, that much of evil is in the mind which is capable of thinking badly. Get rid of that. Get rid of that bad thought. then you will be very peaceful with yourself. What do you want? You want happiness all the time. And how can you be happy when you are prasanna chetasaha? That prasanna chetasaha is possible when you dissolve ragam cha dvesham. You sublimate ragam cha dvesham. Only thing is, these are the inputs to the mind now. And what are the inputs to the mind? You must, by your own adequate effort, put that into practice and be successful at that. Forward march, sir, madam.
So basically, it is in the chapter 12, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam,
Yes,
Maitra Karuna Evacha, Nirmamo Nirahankaraha,
very right.
Sama Dukkha Sukakshami.
Hmm.
So when there is no other, when you do not see another,
Hmm.
and you feel very belong to everyone,
Hmm.
then we attain this state of there is no way we'll see evil outside. You only
True.
see Samadarshana, everyone.
True.
Whether it is Shuni, Shvapaka, or
Very
Shuni,
right.
whether it is
Gold, earth,
mound
mud.
of mud or gold or whatever, that Samadarshana thing happens. Right. Okay.
Hey, you,
I think the first thing that Adveshta, after Adveshta, that is Maitri and compassion, Karuna.
Yeah.
And happiness, that is Prasanna, like Prasad.
right,
So
right.
these three very, very important.
You know, sir, Swami Dayananda says all these good qualities are like noodles.
Noodles.
You can't, the cooked set of noodles, okay, the food that you take for breakfast or whatever, you can't generally pick up one noodle. You pick up one and several others come along with that.
Good.
That Dveshta Sarva Bhutanam, Maitraha, Karuna Evacha, all these things, one will follow the other. One will follow the other.
Very good. Noodle example is very nice.
Oh, Swami Dayananda, it is like noodles. And same thing applies to the bad qualities also. They are also like noodles.
More tangled, more
Oh,
entangled, I think.
Very right.
More entangled in the evil, but not, I think, smooth noodles in the good ones.
Somewhere in the Shastra, it is said, if for 12 years, you have maintained yourself without telling any falsehood at all, and you have always uttered what is Shreyodayakam and Hitadayakam for others. If for 12 years you maintain that uninterrupted, then I believe whatever you say will happen. It's not an easy thing. Whatever you say will happen. That means you will have that much power. Not that after having lived 12 years without uttering anything false, without uttering anything which is hurting the other, if you have maintained that for 12 years, you will never wish anything which is out of the ordinary. You will always wish well for the humanity, and that will happen.
Therefore, in Kannada, there is Havina Dvesha Hannerdu Varusha. They say.
Very right.
Good.
This happens. Okay. Hey, Brahmara.
Yes, Nana?
Your voice has some problem. Your throat is okay?
No, that's fine. I'm fine. Is it okay now? Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Or shall I take over?
No, Nana, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay. Onward march.
Yeah, Krishna as the destroyer of evil. Krishna is also referred to here as the destroyer of evil. We should know that there is no evil beyond our own minds, and there is no such thing as an evil mind. There is only wrong thinking that needs to be corrected. Krishna as the Lord is the chastiser of wrongdoers. By giving them what they deserve, he removes this evil of incorrect thinking. Krishna as the source of happiness. Krishna is the greatest joy of his mother Devaki. He is the most attractive, the one who is the source of all happiness. Anything that attracts, karshati, is Krishna. Anything that attracts is happiness. What pleases you attracts you because it makes you happy. This is why the source of happiness is the focus of complete attraction. O Krishna, teacher of the world, whose message is universal, I salute you. Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Krupena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavai Rananadi Kaivartaka Keshavaha. Bhishma Drona Tata, with Bhishma and Drona as its banks, Jayadratha Jala, with Jayadratha as its water, Gandhara Nilotpala, with Gandhara, Shakuni, the prince of Gandhara, as the blue lily, Shalya Grahavati, with Shalya as the shark, Krupena Vahani, with Kripa as the speed of the water's flow, Karnena Velakula, with Karna as its breakers, Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara, with Ashwathama and Vikarna as its killer whales, Duryodhana Vartini, with Duryodhana as its whirlpools, Sa Rana Nadi, that river of battle, Pandavai, by the Pandavas, Khalu, indeed, Uttirna, was crossed over, Kaivartakaha, the boatman, being Keshavaha, Lord Krishna. With Bhishma and Drona as its banks, Jayadratha as its water, Gandhara, Shakuni as the blue lily, Shalya as the shark, Kripa as the speed of the water's flow, Karna as its breakers, Ashwathama and Vikarna as its killer whales, and Duryodhana as its whirlpools, the river of battle was indeed crossed by the Pandavas because the boatman was Krishna. The Pandavas, Pandu's sons, were 5 in number. The oldest son was Yudhishthira, also called Dharmaputra. The second son was Bhima. Arjuna, who appears in the Gita, was the third son. The fourth and fifth were Nakula and Sahadeva. The river of battle. It is said that the Pandavas crossed a river of battle, Rana Nadi, which is described poetically in this verse. Every river must have 2 banks within which the water flows. Without the banks, there would be no river at all. Bhishma and Drona are the 2 banks of this river of battle. Bhishma and Drona. Bhishma, Arjuna's grandfather, was the eldest in the family and a man of great vows. He was considered to be invincible even though he was an old man. Bhishma was such a great warrior that he never lost a battle. Only trickery could destroy him. Drona was the greatest archer, the guru who taught archery to Arjuna and his brothers, as well as his cousins. Duryodhana. Both Bhishma and Drona were in Duryodhana's ranks against the Pandavas. Duryodhana took care of them during the 13 years that the Pandavas were in exile. He pampered them so much that they felt obliged to him, and he made sure they felt obliged. Bhishma and Drona were his strength, and because of them, he thought he could win the war. He had one more important ally in Karna. Therefore, These three people were the indirect causes of this war. Without them, Duryodhana would definitely not have embarked upon it. In a river, there are always whirlpools. In this verse, Duryodhana is likened to a whirlpool because anyone who went near him got sucked in. Once caught in a whirlpool, it is very difficult to get out. They all got sucked into this battle. Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, his uncle, all of them got sucked in. Even though they were all very kind to the Pandavas, Duryodhana was able to drag them into his grip because he was such a scheming person. Duryodhana's other allies. Although Bhishma and Drona were the banks of this river of battle, the river would have been empty if Jayadratha and his huge army had not been there. Jayadratha provided the manpower and was therefore the water. There are areas in the river where the water collects and remains. This is where the blue lilies grow, making the river not only beautiful but difficult to move through because of their entangling stalks. The prince of Gandhara, Shakuni, is referred to here as the blue lily. The river being described was one that had sharks in it. Shalya is likened to a shark and is called the great grabber. He was Karna's charioteer and was considered the greatest driver. A charioteer is very important in battle. He must not only have great expertise in driving, but he must also encourage the warrior whose chariot he is driving. But during the battle with the Pandavas, Shalya discouraged Karna as much as he could because of a promise he had made earlier to the Pandavas. The current in this river was very fast. Its speed was provided by Kripa. Because of Karna, it was full of breakers. Ashwathama, the son of Drona, was a great archer and also a killer. Vikarna was one of the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. These two, Ashwathama and Vikarna, were the youngest and are described as killer whales. Crossing the river of battle. To cross such a terrible river is not easy. It is only possible by boat. Swimming across is impossible because of all the whales, whirlpools, and breakers. Even a boat may not make it. There is, however, a way. If Krishna is your boatman, you can cross this river of samsara. We too face the various problems mentioned here. We have whirlpool problems, breaker problems, whale problems, credit card problems, etc. If Lord Krishna is the boatman, you will definitely make it. Parasharyavachas sarojamamalam Gitartha gandhotkatam Nanakyanaka kesaram Harikatha Sambodhana bodhitam Loke sajjana shatpadairaharaha Pepiyamanam muda Bhuyad bharata pankajam Kalimala Pradvamsina Shreyase. Parasharya Vachas Sarojam. The lotus born of the waters of the words of the son of Parashara, Vyasa. Gita Artha Gandha Utkatam. Having the Gita as its sweet fragrance. Nana Akhyanaka Kesaram. With many stories as its stamens. Hari Katha Sambodhana Abodhitam. Fully opened by the revealing stories of the Lord Hari. Loke, in the world, Sajjana Shatpadaihi, by the honey bees who are right-thinking people. Aharahaha, day after day. Muda, happily. Pepiyamanam, being relished. Kali Mala Pradvamsi, the destroyer of the blemishes of Kali Yuga. Amalam, spotless. Bharata Pankajam, the lotus of Mahabharata. Naha Shreyase, for our good. Bhuyat, may it be. May the spotless lotus, Mahabharata, born of the waters of the words of the son of Parashara, Vyasa, having the meaning of the Gita as its sweet fragrance, with its many stories as stamens, fully opened by the revealing stories of the Lord Hari, relished happily day after day by the honey bees who are the right-thinking people of the world, this lotus of Mahabharata, which destroys the blemishes of Kali Yuga, may it be for our good. In praise of the Mahabharata. This is a verse in praise of the Mahabharata itself. It says, let it be for the good of all people. Let this beautiful lotus epic be for moksha, liberation, the most desired end. It destroys all of the problems of Kali Yuga. Kali is that which is selfish. Any evil is called Kali. Kali Yuga is a yuga, a time period when people become easily caught up in their own likes and dislikes, ragas and dveshas. The Mahabharata has a number of guidelines for people to follow. It talks about ethics, personal, social, and political values, and even logistics through interpretative illustrations. The lotus, that is the Mahabharata. What kind of a lotus is the Mahabharata? Just like any other lotus, it is born of water. It comes from the water of words. This water of words springs forth from Vyasa, the son of Parashara. Also, this word lotus is as clean as the lotus in the pond. It has the strong, sweet fragrance of the meaning of the Gita. A meaning is something silent. It is something that you understand. You can repeat a word because it is a sound, but its meaning is always silent. You can see a flower, but the smell cannot be seen anywhere. You can only sense it. Similarly, the meaning of the Gita makes the whole Mahabharata wafted with fragrance. This epic is the lotus that exudes the fragrance of the meaning of the Gita. There are many small stories within stories. These stories are like the rows of stamens of the lotus. The stamens of the saffron flower are the most fragrant, whereas stamens of the lotus are known for their beauty. If the Gita is the fragrance of the Mahabharata, then the stories are the stamens which impart beauty to it. Because of Krishna's presence in the Mahabharata, it is the Lord's story. Without it, the Mahabharata would be a lotus that had not yet bloomed. The opening of a bud generally requires the sun. Here, the Lord's story is the sun. It opens up the Mahabharata with devotion. It provides the light necessary for this opening. Enjoyment of the Gita. The Gita is being enjoyed happily. People are drinking deeply from it, taking more and more day after day. Who are these people? They are likened to an insect with 6 legs, the honeybee, for instance. Human beings have 5 sense organs plus a thinking intellect. Some extra intellect is necessary to extract the nectar from the epic flower that is the Gita. The people who enjoy the Gita are therefore thinking people, those who use their intellects. Let this Gita, which is the destroyer of all problems in Kali Yuga, of the problems caused by likes and dislikes, be for the good of all people. The next verse is in the praise of the Lord, which says, I salute the Lord, who is all Ananda, joy, fullness, whose form and expression are Ananda, and who is Lord Krishna. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langhayate girim, yat kripatamaham vande paramananda madhavam. Yat kripa, whose grace, mukam, the mute, vachalam, eloquent, karoti, makes, pangum, one who is lame, girim, mountain, langhayate, causes to scale, tam him Paramananda Madhavam, Krishna, the Lord of Lakshmi, wealth, whose nature is fullness. Aham Vande, I salute. I salute Krishna, the Lord of Lakshmi, wealth, whose nature is fullness, whose kripa, grace, makes the mute eloquent and causes the lame to scale mountain tops. Madhava is another name for Lord Krishna, one who has all the resources and wealth with him, who is Bhagavan, the Lord. I salute the one who is Madhava, Bhagavan, and whose expression and essential nature is fullness, Ananda. The Lord's grace. This verse adds something more. Grace, kripa. Grace is something that is earned. It is not something that the Lord randomly distributes day by day. If he did, he would be partial, which is not the case. Grace is a graceful expression for karma phala. Karma is what you do, and phala is the result of what you do. Prayers as an action. Prayer is also a karma, an action. Because it is an action, it necessarily produces a result. The result is twofold: seen, drishta phala, and unseen, adrishta phala. One example of a seen result is the psychological benefit of prayer. The very fact that you are able to pray is itself a benefit. Also, as a result of prayer, there can be the psychological benefit of having someone upon whom you can rely. Any individual has limitations, whereas the one you pray to is looked upon by you as limitless. Even without understanding, the Lord is looked upon as someone who is omniscient. What is omniscience, all-knowingness? No one understands totally what it means to be omniscient, to be all-knowing. To understand all knowledge, you must be all-knowing. However, our knowledge is limited. From this limited knowledge, we can always know a little more. But that also will be limited. What we can very easily understand, however, is limitation in knowledge. From that, we are able to appreciate that an omniscient person is free from limitation with respect to knowledge. This is what is meant by having an appreciation of omniscience. Who is the omniscient person? Is he or she another kind of person or any one of us? There is therefore a great deal of knowledge to be known in order to appreciate Ishvara, the Lord. I invoke this Ishvara in the form of a prayer. The results of prayer. Prayer is a karma and it produces an immediate result, a visible result. That you are able to invoke the Lord is the result. You have someone to rely on, someone who is all-powerful, mighty, almighty, all-knowledgeable, unlike anyone else. From this, you gain a certain strength, knowing that you can draw on this power to the extent that your capacity to draw on it allows. It is like having a huge reservoir of water. You need not bring all the water at once. It does not matter that your receptacle is small. Just knowing that there is so much water in the reservoir gives you a certain strength. Thus, the immediate benefit you experience because you are able to pray is that there is someone for you who is all knowledge, upon whom you can draw whenever and as much as you want. This is the drishta phala, the seen result. You experience it even as you pray. There is also an adrishta phala, the unseen result of prayer. This is what we call grace, which accounts for benefits which we cannot attribute to a particular day's prayer. How does grace come to you? Grace is earned in the same way that you earn anything else. Since you are not able to relate an unseen result to a given course of action on your part in the immediate past, we are constrained to call this result grace. I will read this again. Since you are not able to relate an unseen result to a given course of action on your part in the immediate past, we are constrained to call this result grace. This grace is able to convert a mute into one who is eloquent and enables a lame person to climb a mountain. Kalidasa, the celebrated poet, was considered to be a mute, but because of grace, he began pouring out verses. Similarly, Valmiki became a great poet because of grace. In day-to-day life, we often hear various stories of the disappearance of incurable diseases. Cancer suddenly vanishes and no one knows how. We call it grace because the causes are not known. You can call such happenings grace, accident, or chance. However, a perceptive person with a certain maturity and understanding of Ishvara appreciates these unseen results as what we call grace. The invisible result of prayer. In a prayer, what you really release is an invisible force called the Adrishta Phala, the unseen result. The very system, the laws that produce certain results, which are not visible to us, are reorganized by prayer. Certain elements are introduced through prayer into this invisible system, causing it to reorganize itself. However, we do not know how it will be reorganized. This is why the results are said to be caused by grace. Grace, therefore, is something that we receive purely as a result of our own karma, actions done either in our immediate past or in the remote past. Because of this result, this grace, certain situations happen in our favor. What is generally taken to be impossible is made possible by grace. In fact, all life is like that. The impossible is made possible. With this verse, I salute Bhagavan, the one by whose grace the mute becomes eloquent and the lame scales mountain tops, the one by whose grace the impossible is made possible. The final verse of the Gita Dhyanam describes the various beings who praise this all-knowing Lord. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam na vidusura suragana devaya tasmai namaha. Brahmaji, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, Marutaha. Varuna, Indra, Rudra and Marut devatas, Divyaihi Stavaihi, with divine hymns of praise, Yam, whom, Stuvanti, praise, Samagaha, the singers of the Samaveda, Vedaihi, by the Vedas, Sanga Pada Krama Upanishadaihi, along with the Upanishads and the limbs of chanting, such as Pada, Krama, and so on, Gayanti, sing in praise, Yam, of whom, Yoginaha, contemplative people, Dhyana Avastita Tadgatena Manasa, with a mind resolved in him in a state of meditation, Yam, whom, Pashyanti, see clearly, Sura Asura Ganaha, the celestials as well as demons, Yasya Antam, whose nature, Na Viduhu, do not know, Tasmai Devaya, unto him the Lord, Namaha, my salutations. To the Lord about whom Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and the Marut Devatas praise with divine hymns, the one whom the singers of the Samaveda praise by singing with a full complement of the limbs of singing in the order of Pada and Krama and the Upanishads, the one whom contemplative people see with minds resolved in him in a state of meditation, whose nature the celestials and demons do not know, unto him, the Lord, my salutations.
Hari Om, Brahmara.
Yes, Nana.
Maybe it is possible to enlarge the text a little more.
Yes.
It will render easy reading. Not that you are not reading it easily. Yeah. You shift it to the right a little. Shift the text slightly to the right. Yeah, that's good. Very good. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the word Deva has different meanings. The root meaning is that which is effulgent. Deva can refer to any god, a celestial, or even a sense organ. The Lord is also called Deva, meaning the one who is all-knowing. Unto this Lord, my salutations. Praised by exalted beings. Who is this Lord? He is the one about whom all the gods, from Brahmaji downward, sing hymns of praise. In addition to Brahmaji, the verse specifically mentions the Devas, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and the Marut Devatas. Even though these Devas are exalted beings, they are still Jivas, individuals, occupying special positions. Their songs in praise of Ishvara are found in the Vedas. Praised by scholars. Those who are able to sing the Samaveda also praise the Lord. To sing the Vedas, one must have the knowledge to do so. 6 other disciplines of knowledge are required. They are called the Shadangas, the 6 limbs. They are phonetics, Shiksha, grammar, Vyakarana, rituals, Kalpa, etymology, Nirukta, prosody, Chandas, and astronomy with astrology, Jyotisha. The reciters of the Samaveda, with the full knowledge of these 6 limbs, sing in praise of the Lord the hymns of Samaveda in the form of Pada and Krama, along with the Upanishads, which reveal the truth of the Lord. Praised by contemplative people. Then there are the contemplative people who meditate upon the truth of Ishvara, whom they see very clearly. How do they see? With their minds. What kind of mind? A mind that is in a state of contemplation, a mind that is absorbed, tranquil, and subtle. These people contemplate again and again with minds that are awake to the true nature of the Lord, which they have come to appreciate through listening to and analyzing the Ishvara, the teaching. Praised by others. There are people who praise the Lord as one with a form and attributes. The whole creation with all of its glories is nothing but the Lord's form. There are others, yogis, who see the Lord as formless, whose nature is not known by either gods or demons. Even though these gods are all exalted beings, they do not necessarily know that they are limitless. Being a god or a celestial does not mean that the person is enlightened. Self-knowledge is not something that comes with an exalted position. They must have a means of knowledge, a pramana, to know this truth about themselves. Thus, salutations are offered to the Lord, who is praised by the gods and demons alike. The demons also praise the Lord to gain various powers by his grace, and by the singers of the Samaveda, whom the contemplative people realize in their meditations, and whose glories even gods and demons know not. Thus, these 9 verses praise the Gita in general. First, the Mahabharata, in which the Gita is placed, is praised. Then Lord Krishna is praised as a boatman, because of whose tact and grace the Pandavas were able to cross the great river of battle with all of its hurdles. The Gita herself is also praised, after which Vedavyasa, the chronicler of the Mahabharata, is praised, because of whose grace we now have the Gita. Arjuna is recognized in these verses as being its nimitta, cause. Without him, there would be no Gita. Because Arjuna asked for it, we have the Lord's song, the Bhagavad Gita. Life as we know it, that is samsara, is considered to be a river of battle, Rana Nadi, in which people drown. The verses do not tell us how this river can be crossed, nor do they mention Krishna's grace. We simply need to understand that the boatman is Krishna, the Lord. Krishna is the one whose grace enables us to cross. Having invoked the Lord's help by this prayer to the Gita, we can now commence our study. Before we begin the first chapter, we will see briefly the context in which the Gita is set and its purpose.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Time you relaxed.
Yes, Nana.
Okay. Well done. Thank you. But your throat is kind of so-so.
Yeah, I have a little cold, that's all.
Okay. Get rid of the cold.
Yeah.
The context of the Gita. Incidentally, what I said yesterday was wrong and I apologize. I said there are 8,500 verses in the Mahabharata which are considered to be very, very profound, and on which Ganesha, while chronicling, while writing, he happened to have a lot of time to think and brood over to understand, because he has given his consent that without understanding he will not write. It is not 8,500, which I said yesterday. I happened to check up, I had a doubt myself. It is 8,800. 8,800 makes it about 8.8% of the total Mahabharata slokas. So 8.8% of the verses are very profound. Yeah, that's how. Secondly,
but you were very close, Nana.
I thought it is 8,500, but it was not correct. It was 8,800. I happen to refer back to the Mahabharata. Okay. Now, another thing to know, both Ramayana and Mahabharata had the blessings of Brahmaji. Brahmaji happened to bless Valmiki and suggest to him to keep writing Ramayana. And he also blessed him that whatever he says will become true. Whatever he writes will become true also. Not only that, in his contemplative moods, whatever he thinks, he will be able to have that as the truth. It's almost the same thing happened to even Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa was worried, I believe, such a big, voluminous, this compendium, how to write, how to hand it over to progeny, and how to make it available to mankind. Then Brahmaji appeared, I believe, and suggested to him, you pray to Ganesha, he will help you. That is how both for Valmiki and Vedavyasa, Brahmaji was the Nimitta Karana. Context of the Gita. A large-scale battle between two factions of the royal clan of the Kurus in the days of Krishna provided the context for the Bhagavad Gita. Both the Pandavas and Kauravas are Kurus because their great ancestor was Kuru, and he ruled from Hastinapura, and he was a very pious king and a very noble king. He has conducted a number of yajnas, yagas, and that is how that Kurukshetra became Dharmakshetra. The people belonging to this Kuru clan are called Kauravas. The battle was waged between the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, collectively referred to as Dhartarashtras, and the 5 sons of Pandu, called the Pandavas. The entire Mahabharata, in which the Gita is placed, is a piece of literature, drama. Thus, the author Vyasa had the freedom to use his imagination creatively. He did this by weaving the whole tapestry of this huge epic around a few historical events and characters. The Kauravas. Can you roll it up? Yeah. Roll it up sufficiently. Yeah, good. When Dhritarashtra and Pandu, the sons of Vichitravirya, came of age, Bhishma had to install one of them as the king to rule the Kauravas. Although Dhritarashtra was older than Pandu, he was not eligible to rule because he was blind. According to the Dharma Shastra, which states exactly who can and cannot rule, ruling a kingdom being a very responsible and difficult job, a king should have all his faculties intact. Pandu therefore became the ruler. Pandu was a great man and he ruled well. He respected his older brother, Dhritarashtra, and gave him the full status of a king, even though he could not actually rule. Pandu went on a Digvijaya, going in all directions and conquering the rulers of various kingdoms and bringing them under one's subjugation, and brought in wealth and prosperity to the kingdom. He also extended the frontiers of his kingdom. Once Pandu decided to go to the forest along with his wives Kunti and Madri and a huge retinue to hunt and enjoy the life of living in the forest. Incidentally, this Madri is the younger sister of the Shelya. The Shelya, who was fighting on the side of Duryodhana, is the older brother of Madri. Yeah, there once he came across a pair of deer which were sporting together. Without thinking, he shot arrows at them and mortally wounded them. In that instant, the pair of deer took on their original forms of a rishi and his wife. They had assumed the form of deer and were cavorting. Yeah, thank you. Freely. Then the rishi, by the name Kindama, cursed Pandu that if ever he would unite with his wife, he would die instantaneously and hence would never be able to beget children. After this, Pandu renounced his kingdom and took to an ascetic way of life in the forest along with his wives. He observed many kinds of austerities, and his wives Kunti and Madri also practiced the austerities along with him. Thus, all the three of them lived a life befitting the Vanaprastha-ashrama. The fact that he could not beget any children was a source of great sorrow to Pandu. His wife Kunti had been given a mantra as a boon by the sage Durvasa once, when she had served him very well. This mantra, this Rishi Durvasa is considered to be the son of Atri Maharshi and Anasuya Devi. Durvasa was one of the sons, Dattatreya was the other son, and Chandrama was the third son. Okay? Durvasa is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, I believe. And Dattatreya is considered incarnation of Bhagavan Vishnu, and Chandrama incarnation of Brahmaji, the creator. When she had served him very well, this mantra had the power to bring any god to her and bless her with a son. Therefore, at Pandu's behest, she gave birth to 3 sons. Brahma, are you there? Dharmaputra, Bhima, and Arjuna. Using this mantra, she also helped Madri to beget the twins, Nakula and Sahadeva, using the mantra. Incidentally, in the Mahabharata, Pandu asked Kunti, hey, you have helped Madri once, can you help her again? She very politely refuses. Unsuspectingly, I have helped her with the mantra, and she invoked the twin gods, Ashwini Devas. Now, if I try to help, God knows how many sons invoking what gods at a time she will be able to get. No, I should call it a day. It is not dharma for me to make another effort to help. Later, being unable to resist the temptation, when Pandu tried to approach Madri, the Rishi's curse took effect and he died. Because she had been instrumental in causing Pandu to die, Madri put an end to her life by committing sati after entrusting her 2 sons to the care of Kunti. After this, the Rishis in the forest brought Kunti and the 5 sons of Pandu to Hastinapura and entrusted them to the care of elders of the Kuru clan. The entire Kuru clan accepted the 5 brothers as the rightful heirs of Pandu. Bhishma entrusted to Dronacharya the task of education and training in archery and warfare of all the princes, the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and the 5 sons of Pandu. After their education was completed, they all demonstrated their skills in public during their graduation ceremony. Then, by the unanimous decision of all the elders, Dharmaputra, the oldest of the Pandavas, was installed as the crown prince and was entrusted with the responsibility of ruling the kingdom. Dharmaputra, also known by the name of Yudhishthira, was committed to a life of dharma, to what was right, even at the cost of his own welfare. Because Dharmaputra was born by the grace of Lord Yama, he was also called Dharmaraja. The second son was Bhima, a man of valor and strength. He was born by the grace of Lord Vayu. He also had a great heart and was committed to dharma. Then there was Arjuna, the most versatile of all of them. Not only a master archer, Arjuna had a thorough grasp of logistics. He knew all about warfare, how to organize an army, how to advance, how to fight. There is a Shastra for all this, explaining the various ways to arrange an army into appropriate formations, the vyuhas, so that when the front lines are gone, there are other lines to back them up. All of this requires a lot of study and understanding. Besides being an expert in warfare, Arjuna was very adept in performing and fine arts. He was a great dancer, musician, and a man of great name and fame, committed to dharma. Nakula, a younger brother to these 3, was also an archer. Sahadeva, the youngest, was considered to be a wise man, a jnani, and a great astrologer. Nakula and Sahadeva were twins born to Madri by the grace of the twin gods Ashwini Kumaras, the celestial physicians. When it became obvious that war with Duryodhana was inevitable, Dharmaputra asked Sahadeva when the Pandavas should begin the war against their cousin Duryodhana so as to win. Sahadeva gave his brother a certain time. Duryodhana, having the same respect for Sahadeva and his integrity, also asked for an appropriate time to begin the war against the Pandavas. Sahadeva naturally gave Duryodhana a time meant to make the war go in his favor. This one episode alone in the Mahabharata presents Sahadeva as an extraordinary person with all the additional qualifications of a prince, such as skill in archery and warfare. However, thanks to Lord Krishna's grace, Duryodhana could not start the war on time. Thanks to Lord Krishna's grace and Arjuna being the Nimitta Karana also.
Nanaji,
Yes.
Arjuna from which god? I think Vishnu, no?
Arjuna?
Was born to Kunti with the grace of?
From Indra.
Indra, okay.
Indra. The king
Varuna,
of
Indra, and Ashwini. Okay.
He is called Indraputra.
Okay.
Indraputra.
I had forgotten it.
Yeah, Indraputra. Together, Dharmaputra and his 4 younger brothers, committed to the law of Dharma, ruled the kingdom very well, and all the citizens were pleased. One and all showered praise and accolades on the Pandavas. This marked the beginning of all the problems because the sons of Dhritarashtra, especially Duryodhana, were very jealous and did not accept the Pandavas as rulers. They did whatever they could to see that the Pandavas were always in trouble, even though, as princes, the Dhritarashtra's sons of Dhritarashtra were treated very well by the ruling Pandavas. Duryodhana's jealousy. The
Dharma,
Pandavas.
1 minute. Can you please elaborate on how Krishna got Duryodhana to start the war not at the correct time?
Because of Gita. Because of Gita. Arjuna said, Senayoho bhayor majje me radham stapaya achyuta.
Okay.
Then afterwards, it took some 3 to 4 hours to render the Gita to Arjuna.
Okay.
And so the muhurtam which Sahadeva fixed for Duryodhana's victory, that got shifted by a few hours, and that became the muhurtam for Yudhishthira.
Oh.
Oh.
Got it. Okay.
That is the grace of the Lord. That is how the grace of the Lord works. We don't know. Okay?
Yeah.
Duryodhana's jealousy. The Pandavas grew up in the same palace with their cousins, the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. Even as children, Duryodhana and his brothers were jealous of the Pandavas and would gang up and try to destroy them. Therefore, the Pandavas always grew up in the midst of great jealousy and constant fighting. They tried to understand that their cousins were jealous and accommodated them as best as they could. Now that the people were happy that Dharmaputra was their own crown prince, Duryodhana's jealousy knew no bounds. From the time Dharmaputra became the crown prince, Duryodhana began scheming for the throne. He plotted with his uncle Shakuni. Shakuni is the younger brother of Gandhari, who was the wife of Dhritarashtra, who was one of the wives of Dhritarashtra. Okay, Duryodhana plotted to kill the Pandavas at Varanavata. Dhritarashtra sent them to Varanavata under the pretext of asking them to preside over a Utsava. Duryodhana had already built a palace made of inflammatory substances for their stay and had sent one of his agents with the instruction that at an appropriate moment, he should set fire to the palace so that it would look like an accident. This would lead to the end of the Pandavas, together with Kunti. But Vidura, who already knew about this plot, warned them and made secret arrangements for their escape. Everybody assumed that the Pandavas had perished in that fire. Shakuni was the brother of Gandhari, Duryodhana's mother. He was the vile schemer who advised Duryodhana in his actions against the Pandavas. The one question which remains unanswered in the Mahabharata, if you seek a question, is this Shakuni fellow. How is it he happens to be from Kandahar, that is Gandhara, the present day Kandahar, which is in Afghanistan, and he is the prince of that king. That Gandhara king's son is Shakuni, who is younger to Gandhari. Okay, and this fellow, I can understand, as a younger brother to the newly wedded bride, you can go accompany her, deposit her with the in-laws, and come away after a few weeks or so. These fellows settle down in Hastinapura like nobody's business. That is a question very difficult to answer. Why is it that he chose to be in Hastinapura all the time, though he is entitled to be the next king later in Kandahar? What made him stick in Hastinapura? That's a question which we don't know the answer. Karna was actually the son of Kunti, born to
He
her.
was the nimitta for the Dhartarashtra's
Uh-huh.
he was
Which
the
one?
nimitta for the Dhartarashtra's to wage the war. And
Yeah, Nimitta, yeah, very right. Nimitta,
game of dice and all that.
that is true. In a way, that's right.
They say
Without-
because Gandhari
Yeah.
became blindfolded,
Hmm.
and Dhritarashtra is already blind, so he want to help this.
What? For help, Hastinapura is not without helpers. There
Not
are
to
any number of hundreds of thousands of people to help this blind couple.
yeah, but on their side, Gandhari's side.
No.
That
This is generally not done at all. In the family traditions, it is generally not done. Especially in the kingly traditions, it's not done. This fellow went and got stuck in Hastinapura, as though he could not get back to Afghanistan. Karna was actually the son of Kunti, born to her by the grace of Lord's son, when she had experimented with the mantra that the sage Durvasas had given her when she was a young unmarried girl. When the child was born, this is another episode. This is another episode. If we do anything unwittingly, unsuspectingly, without knowing the results, this is what will happen. This one incident in Kunti's life was highly calamitous. She wanted to test the mantra given by a rishi, which is a daunting task. You can't doubt the efficacy of the mantra given by a rishi. It's not as though she started doubting. She wanted to play with the mantra. The childishness in Kunti when she was just a maiden, not married, that made all the difference. Without the Shakuni fellow getting stuck in Hastinapura, there would not have been any game of dice. Secondly, without Karna, who is later on called as Sutaputra, there would not have been the Mahabharata war at all. So, one is the cause is Shakuni, another is Kunti herself, who gave birth to Karna unsuspectingly, calling the sun god using that mantra. When the child was born, being afraid of the society, she placed the child in a basket and floated it away in the river. This child was found and raised in the river. This is Ganga is mentioned here in this. Actually, it is not Ganga, it is some other river. As per Mahabharata, it is some other river. Incidentally, the Gita as presented in the Mahabharata does not have any titles of chapters. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, none of these. None of these at all. It simply starts with Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre and ends with Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Pardho Dhanurdharaha. That's all. In between, all the 18 chapters are there. There is nothing at the end of every chapter. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Mahabharate Shatasahasrikayam Samhitayam Vayasikyam Srimad Bhishma Parvani Arjuna Vishata Yogo Nama Prathamodhyaya. These were later on introduced by well-meaning people and pandits. These were not originally in the Mahabharata at all. There were no chapter headings at all. It is one continuous flow of 700 verses. Okay. Why I remembered is, it's not Ganga. It is some other river. I forgot that name. Maybe Kaveri, not Kaveri. Maybe Yamuna or maybe some other river. Because Kunti was not anywhere near Hastinapura at that time. She was the daughter of Kunti Bhoja. And Kunti Bhoja was in the yonder western country in India. And in that western country, there's no Ganga. This child was found and raised by a charioteer as his son. Karna was very valorous and grew up to be a fine archer. He came to the graduation ceremony of the Kuru princess to prove himself and gain some acceptance. He challenged Arjuna. This is another problem. This is indicative of the disposition of Karna. He wanted to be recognized. If you are happy with yourself by yourself, why do you want recognition by others at all? Okay, if you have your own value of who you indeed are, you need not seek that kind of recognition from others. This is another mistake Karna has done, and he paid for that very, very dearly. He challenged Arjuna, but he was not allowed to participate in the ground on the grounds that he was not a Kshatriya. When he thus stood humiliated, Duryodhana came to his rescue and crowned him as the king of Angadesha. Since then, he became, and this is another question which remains to be answered. Number one, who gave Duryodhana the power to anoint Karna as the king of Angadesha? Angadesha is part of the Hastinapura Desha. And what is the power that Duryodhana was wielding at that time to make this fellow the king of Angadesha? He was not a crown prince, nor was he a king. And neither did he seek the approval of Dhritarashtra to do this. He straightway did it. These are some things in the Mahabharata which go unanswered, and generally people will take that Nana Kyanaka Kesaram Harikada Sambodhana Bodhitam. These kind of questions may not occur in people's minds, but these are the root causes for the Mahabharata war. Since then, he became the most devoted friend of Duryodhana. This Duryodhana, because of jealousy, he was dead against Pandavas. Karna, because of the insult that was meted out to him during the graduation ceremony of the princess, he also chose. And not only that, because Duryodhana befriended him at the hour of peril for him, he became indebted to Duryodhana, number one, and he became inimical to Arjuna, number two. These are the reasons for the Mahabharata war. Yeah. Angadesha. Since then, he became the most devoted friend of Duryodhana. Vidura was another brother of Pandu and Dhritarashtra. He was born to a servant maid and was not entitled to rule the kingdom. He was a minister. As per Dharma Shastra, you must belong to one of the three first clans, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. The Shudra is not entitled to rule the kingdom. That was the Dharma Shastra. Like anybody not having all his faculties intact cannot rule the kingdom. That is how Dhritarashtra was kept aside. Vidura. Yeah, the Pandavas lived in. We missed something, Brahmara. Can you roll it back? Yeah, here. Vidura was another brother of Pandu and Dhritarashtra. He was born to a servant maid and was not entitled to rule the kingdom. He was a minister to the king and was a great, What is that? He was a great.
I think this what you're reading is just the footnote. Here,
The footnote. See, you roll up the footnote, please. This up.
I think that is.
He was a minister to the king and was a great.
I think that is gone amiss. I don't know.
Yeah, he was a very great, wise man, etc. Except Vidura, no one knew of their escape. There some paras were missing here. What I suggest, Brahmara.
No, it's not missing, Anna. I don't think it's missing. It para is coming like this.
No.
Everybody assumed.
No. There is.
Everybody assumed that the Pandavas had perished in the fire.
Where is that? The text is missing.
No, it is here, no? Before the footnote. over here.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Duryodhana had already built a palace made of filament. Okay.
Yeah.
Vidura, who already knew about this plot, warned them and made secret arrangements for their escape. Everybody assumed that the Pandavas had perished in the fire. Very right. Very right. Except Vidura, no one knew of their escape. The Pandavas lived incognito for some time and went to the Swayamvara of Draupadi, who was the daughter of the king of Panchala. Arjuna won the test, and all 5 of them married Draupadi and came back to Hastinapura. This time, the elders of the Kuru family decided to put an end to this conflict by dividing the kingdom into 2 halves, one each for the Dhartarashtras and another for the Pandavas. The most undeveloped and unproductive part of the country, called Khandava Prastha, was given to the Pandavas as their share. Hastinapura itself, with the developed productive lands around it, went to the Dhartarashtras, but they accepted the deal and went to Khandava Prastha. With the help of Lord Krishna, Lord Indra and the divine architects, divine architect Maya, the Pandavas made the land fertile and built a very beautiful capital for themselves. This was called Indraprastha. Incidentally, neither Hastinapura nor Indraprastha is the present-day Delhi at all. Yudhishthira sent his brothers in all directions for Digvijaya because the present-day Delhi is on the banks of river Yamuna, whereas Hastinapura is on the banks of river Ganga. Right? This was called Indraprastha. Yudhishthira sent his brothers in all directions for Digvijaya, and they in turn brought in wealth and made their country prosperous and powerful. Roll up, please. Hey, you're not being attentive. Roll up.
No,
Dharmaputra was asked
my
by
computer is a
Vyasa.
little slow, so you have to bear with me.
Huh?
It is, my computer is a little slow. The rolling up is taking some time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Dharmaputra was asked by Vyasa to perform a great yajna called Rajasuya, in which money and food were to be distributed. In that yajna, Duryodhana was in charge of distributing the money. He was known to be generous. And if it was someone else's money, he was more generous. Everyone participated in the yajna in some way, and this was Duryodhana's contribution to it. After the yajna, people began praising Dharmaputra and his brothers. This made Duryodhana even more jealous. He could not bear to see the prosperity of the Pandavas. He wanted Indraprastha for himself. But he knew he could not win in a war with the Pandavas. Shakuni advised him to invite Dharmaputra for a game of dice and said that he would play on behalf of Duryodhana and win for him Indraprastha and all that Pandavas owned. With his father's consent, Duryodhana invited Dharmaputra for a game of dice. Shakuni's plan worked. Dharmaputra lost everything. The game of dice, Dharmaputra's weakness. That some months back, I think some lady asked whether Dharmaputra was a gambler. He has weakness for gambling. That does not mean he's a gambler. When you have weakness for a certain thing and your discrimination, your intellect guiding you properly has taken care to see that you do not succumb to your pursuits like that, like gambling, then you are not a gambler. That is the difference between a gambler and a person who has liking for gambling. Dharmaputra accepted the invitation for a game of dice because it was considered to be a Kshatriya dharma not to refuse an invitation to a game of dice. But apart from that, he had a liking to it. That was his weakness, but he had not bargained for playing against Shekuni, who was an expert in the game. This is where the egotism of Dharmaputra came into play, I think. He was perhaps well within his rights to refuse Shekuni playing on behalf of Duryodhana. He could have resisted that, but he did not, because he thought that will be a kind of a show of weakness on his part, that he is afraid of some other player like Shekuni. So to project that he is not afraid of Shekuni, he accepted. Dharmaputra was no match for Shekuna, even in a fair game, but Shekuni had no intentions of playing fair. Not knowing that Shekuni had loaded the dice, Dharmaputra thought that with every subsequent throw, he would recover what he had lost. Instead, being goaded by Shekuni to stake some more and more, he lost the crown, the kingdom, his brothers, himself, and even Draupadi.
Nana, that Vidura thing, that
Which one?
Vidura, the footnote.
Vidura is there, but who will listen to him?
No. I'm talking about the footnote over here. It continues over here. The earlier footnote was incomplete. It completes here.
No. When there are two contestants, Duryodhana and Yudhishthira. Duryodhana said, "Hey Yudhishthira, hey brother, on my behalf Shekuni will play. I suppose you don't have any objection." Yudhishthira said, "Okay, no problem." Then where does Vidura come in?
Nana, I'm not talking of Vidura in the game of dice. I'm talking of in this in the PDF.
Vidura was just the prime minister. He had no power beyond that, because Dhritarashtra, the very king, has permitted this. The very king has permitted this. Then how can Vidura say anything against it? Vidura's role is kind of limited. Only thing is, Vidura comes into the picture when Draupadi was hauled into the court. He said, "This is the end of the Kuru family." He warned Dhritarashtra. Okay?
The whole Mahabharata is because of the jealousy, greediness of the Duryodhana.
Duryodhana, correct. And
Only
Duryodhana,
that means
Duryodhana is considered an incarnation of a demon. Like Arjuna is considered incarnation of Indra, Yudhishthira incarnation of Yamadharmaraja, Bhima that of Vayu. He is considered incarnation of a demon.
okay.
Yeah.
So these are the Ashtaripus,
Correct.
which make the problem Mahabharata in everyone's life.
I tell you, all of us, we owe to our Sanatana Dharma to make an effort to read the two great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. It is so very fulfilling, so very blessing. I would even go to the extent of saying that people who have not read the Ramayana in its original form and the Mahabharata, they've missed quite a lot in life. Not knowing that Shekuni had loaded the dice, Dharmaputra thought that with every subsequent throw he would recover what he had lost. Instead, being goaded by Shekuni to stake more and more, he lost the crown, the kingdom, his brothers, himself, and can you roll it up, please? And everything, even his wife Draupadi, who was also considered to be a part of his wealth. Shakuni baited Dharmaputra to stake Draupadi in an attempt to regain all that he had lost. A gambler's thinking being what it is, Dharmaputra thought that this is at last would work, and in that stake he lost her also. All the stories in the Mahabharata point out either certain human virtues or weaknesses. This story reveals that playing the game of dice is a weakness and that a gambler gambles everything. There is a value here, and the value is to be understood. Dharmaputra's weakness was gambling, and he paid dearly for it. The story then continues to tell how Draupadi was drawn into the court, where she was insulted and attacked by Duryodhana's younger brother Dushyasana. But while she was being disrobed, Krishna helped her by continuing to lengthen her sari until her attacker finally became exhausted by his efforts. Although she had sympathetic support, no one else was able to help her because of Dharma. Dharmaputra had asked Dharmaputra had staked his wife and lost her to another. Whatever he did with her or allowed to be done to her was his right. Because of their commitment to Dharma, the furious Pandavas had to remain helpless witnesses, controlling themselves from doing anything to stop Dushasana's malicious act. Krishna's grace was Draupadi's only support, which saved her from further ignominy and humiliation. The exile of the Pandavas. The Pandavas felt humiliated. The other four brothers were bound by love and honor to Dharmaputra. That prevented them from killing Duryodhana and others then and there. So they stood there with suppressed anger and frustration, and Draupadi appealed to the elders in the assembly for justice. Many signs of ill omens appeared at that time. Then Bhima declared that he would kill Duryodhana and Dushasana in the war later. Arjuna declared that he would kill Karna. Sahadeva vowed to kill Shakuni. Nakula in turn vowed to kill Shakuni's son. These declarations were terrible and frightening. At this, Dhritarashtra lost his nerve and promised Draupadi he would offer everything back to Pandavas, as they should forgive and forget and go back to Indraprastha. Then Bhishma, Drona, and other respected elders too told Duryodhana that what had happened was wrong and that Dharmaputra should continue to rule the kingdom. But Duryodhana would not budge an inch, and then budge an inch. And then everyone agreed to play one more game with the condition that if the Pandavas won, they would get their kingdom back, and if they lost, they would go to the forest for 12 years, during which time Duryodhana would rule the kingdom. When they returned, however, the kingdom was to be given back to the Pandavas. Duryodhana agreed to this condition with one amendment. That is, for one additional year, the Pandavas should live somewhere incognito without being recognized by anyone. If any one of them was discovered, they would all have to serve another period of 12 years in the forest, plus one more year living incognito, Ajnatavasa. In this way, Duryodhana was certain that he could send the Pandavas back into exile for 13 more years because he had so many spies moving about the kingdom. At least one of the Pandavas would surely be recognized, he thought. Thus, the Pandavas lived for 12 years in the forest and one more year incognito in the kingdom Virata. Each of them became employed in the king's palace. Dharmaputra as a companion to the king, Bhima as a special cook, Arjuna as a teacher of dance and music to the women. Arjuna had been cursed by celestial damsel Urvashi that she should lose his masculinity. Lord Indra had modified that curse to take effect for a period of 1 year whenever he chose. Thus Arjuna opted for it to take effect for this period of Ajnatavasa. And he taught music and dance to the royal ladies of the king of Virata in this way. The Pandavas lived out the remaining year unrecognized by anyone. Because Duryodhana had suspected their presence in Virata, he engineered a border skirmish in order to bring them out into the open. Arjuna did come out along with the prince of Virata, but the 1 year period had just expired. Bhishma was the one who told Duryodhana that, according to the lunar calendar, the period was ended. It was indeed over. All that came out of Duryodhana's scheme, therefore, was that Arjuna gave him and his people, Karna and others, a good scare. It was a great day for Arjuna, one he had been long waiting. I think we'll stop here. Okay, please note down the page number, Brahmara. Pandavas return. That is the page, that's the heading. This may be, 64, okay. Pandavas return. All right.
Yeah.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Brahmara, another thing I wanted to tell you, this particular PDF, which is the introduction PDF, this is towards the end. It was missing some pages, about 12-15 pages. What you do is the Bhagavad Gita chapters 1 to 7. That PDF, if you open that 1 to 7 PDF, initially it is the introduction, the same as this, and which is complete.
Okay.
This, after a few pages, around page 90, I think, it abruptly stops. It's not there.
Okay.
Okay. Right. You can do that either tomorrow or day after.
Right.
Because we're on page 64. We need to go to 90. That means 26 pages, which is rather difficult to cover in one day for both of us together. You can do that tomorrow or day after.
Right.
All right.
What I meant was, Nana, regarding Vidura, when you were reading the footnote, it seemed incomplete, right? This last sentence over here in this page, he was Dharma incarnate. Many a time he would try to give good advice to Dhritarashtra. So this completes that footnote about Vidura.
Yeah, actually, Vidura advises Dhritarashtra not to invite Yudhishthira at all to the game of dice. And Dhritarashtra very cunningly sends Vidura to Indraprastha to bring Yudhishthira. See, Vidura was helpless.
When you were reading the PDF, Nana, here when you were talking to Vidura, he was a minister to the king and was a great, that seemed like a incomplete sentence, right? Okay. So
yeah,
that
correct.
sentence is completed over here. That is all I wanted to share. That's all.
Oh, is that there? That footnote? He was a great soul. Okay. This I missed. He was a great soul. He was Dharma.
That is all I wanted to mention. It is not the question on my side.
Okay. Thank you. This I missed. Many a time he would try to give good advice to Dhritarashtra, but that always falls on deaf ears. Vidura was not an ordinary soul. He had the power to beckon a Devarshi, Sanat Kumara, to Dhritarashtra's palace to advise Dhritarashtra about what he ought to do, what he should avoid. And Sanat Kumara comes and advises him. That is an episode in Mahabharata. It is called Sanat Sujatiyam. Sanat Sujatiyam. On that, Bhagavan Shankara happened to render a bhashya. In addition to Gita, he has rendered a bhashya on Sanat Sujatiya. In spite of so many learned people advising Dhritarashtra, a blind fellow is a blind fellow at all. He was blind not only externally, internally in the mind also he was totally blind. He paid the heavy price for his weakness to succumb to the love for his son Duryodhana. Okay. More of it after you people read Mahabharata. Om. Hari Om. Hey Brahmara, you can send the Mahabharata PDF to people who want it.
I already sent it.
Okay, good. Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Dhanyavad Nanaji.